The Infinite Game by Simon Sinek. Welcome back to my channel. My name is Samuel and I want to make self-growth normal. If you want to make self-growth normal, because I don't want to do it alone, then make sure to smash that like button for the YouTube algorithm. Leadership author Simon Sinek has really made a name for himself. From Start With Why to Find Your Why to Leaders Eat Last, he puts out the Infinite Game, which, what does that even mean? Infinite game? Like, bruh. Well, the author, a man of his word, started with why. The rise of great societies, advancements in science and in medicine, and the exploration of space, they all happened because large groups of people got together and said, let's do this. And they did it with no clear end in sight. They had no idea what they were doing. I mean, they kind of did, but they also didn't because there wasn't a clear end in sight. And they did this to contribute to things that are beyond themselves. You know, something that would last well beyond their lifetimes. And we're designed, we're inclined to seek out immediate solutions. So this isn't easy to do at all. Like, what if you try a billion different things and they're all screw-ups? Do you still feel like contributing to something beyond yourself? These people did. So starting with finite and infinite games, I don't know if I've ever heard Simon Sinek say anything bad, anything at all about Apple. Yes, Apple tends to attract a cult-like following, and yes, I am part of that cult-like following, but the thing about Apple fanboys, did I just spin the camera? I'm sorry, is that, I don't know, I imagine for a lot of us, we really just care about the product and what it can do for us and each other. It's just primarily about that. Simon Sinek, I think it's a different story. He's clearly an Apple fanboy, but it's not directly for that reason. Every time he talks about Apple, it sounds like he's praising them, but, and this is something that separates him from a lot of Apple fanboys whose books I check out, it's not because of their product and what it does for us and each other. It's really way more because of how Apple is operated and how it thinks about and treats its customers. I think there's a pretty big difference between those things. At the Microsoft event, the majority of presenters devoted a major portion of their presentations to talking about how they were going to be Apple. At the Apple event, 100% of the presenters spent 100% of their time talking about how Apple is going to help teachers teach and help students learn. As the author said, sadly, finite-minded leadership, very scarcity-based, you know, taking care of and leading corporations and organizations and governments and, you know, whatever else. It has become a business standard in the last 40 years. It's embraced by Wall Street and business schools. And the lifespan of companies seems to be getting shorter and shorter. The average lifespan of an S&P 500 company has shrunk over 40 years since the 1950s, from 61 years to 18 years today. And the rate of that changing is faster than ever. It's almost infinite. Something else about the book is that the author bothers with more than just business examples. At the beginning of the chapter, Just Cause, he talks about sieges during World War II. And the previous chapter discusses a quagmire during World War I. He discusses what a just cause is. A specific vision of a future statement that doesn't exist yet. When he said just cause, at first I was like, does he mean just cause like, I'm doing this just cause I feel like it? The next chapter is called Cause, No Cause, which still doesn't really make that much sense to me. Here he goes over maybe myths, things that people think are just causes, and why. Like BHAGs by a concept that was popularized by a guy named Jim Collins in his book Built to Last. BHAG, big, hairy, audacious goals. Another one is being the best. Another one is growth. Another one is social or societal corporate responsibility. The next chapter is Keeper of the Cause, because every cause needs a keeper. And when it has someone who's focused on stock returns and market share, that is where you're in trouble. Steve Ballmer with Microsoft, John Sculley with Apple, Michael Duke with Walmart. The original founders of these companies saw things like, you know, we're going to innovate forever. We're not going to get stuck to any finite thinking. It's almost like you could have the right skill set, but that won't help you when the business that you're running is focused on finite thinking and what the competition is doing. The next chapter is called The Responsibility of Business. It's interesting how this guy sets his points up, but it's hard to pinpoint why exactly. As he said, for example, technology doesn't explain failure. Okay, so I guess he did say something about technology and how it's not really the reason for a lot of this failure that's happening. It's more about the leader's failure to envision the future of their business as the world changes around them. For example, Kodak or BlackBerry. What's interesting is how much this mindset of a CEO saying this is not enough. This rat race is ingrained into our business schools, our society, our stock market, our Wall Street, and our Market Watch magazines. By the way, if I didn't say before, there is a spectacular rant, or maybe a passionately opinionated discussion that Sinek has in this part of the book about, for lack of better verbiage, the absurdity of what a chief officer has become and come to mean. CEO, CFO, CVO, COO, CAO? I don't know. IDK. Though, the stock market actually had a lot to do with where this came from. If 80% of the CEO's pay is based on how the share price is going to do next year, he or she, in many cases, is going to do his or her best to make sure that the share goes up.
But Sam, what if that harms the employees, the customer, society, environment, or even the corporation itself?
Who cares? I'm getting 6 Bugattis, 2 Penguins, and an elegant Vermont beach house. It's the abuse of capitalism. A superior of mine at work explained that it's a little profound how stock price is what primarily indicates a company's value at a given time. The thing is, I know there's some investors who watch this channel. I hope you guys have been doing well, saving up for your Bugattis, Penguins, and Vermont beach houses. So please tell me if this is incorrect. But if everyone invests a bunch of money into a company, doesn't it basically turn into a bubble of some sort? Please feel free to let me know in the comments. I'd love to hear what you guys think. I believe this happened to Tesla last year to some effect, but they weren't really that small of a company to begin with, so meh. My favorite story from the book is the one about the container store from the 07-08 recession. Because people don't buy storage containers during recessions. I mean, who needs storage when you can't really buy anything else, really much of anything else? When your money is running low, the last thing you might be thinking is, oh my gosh, you know what I need? Some storage containers. So the container store was like, what are we supposed to do? All of a sudden, the employees started finding ways. This is the most brilliant sense of initiative I've ever heard in one of these company stories. They started finding all these different ways to save the company money. How are you saving your company money? Frugality can be a double-edged sword because you can only do so much of it until it kind of traps you. As much as I hate to say that because I really like it, but it can be a very, very useful skill. The next chapter is called Trusting Teams. This chapter is about trust, trust, trust. I feel like Sinek enjoys treating the histories of businesses the same way he likes to treat the histories of countries or military branches or schools or religions, just anything really important and impactful in today's world. Again, it's not like he just describes all of this using only just company histories. He also talks about ethical fading, for example, which certainly stood out to me, the in-depth deep dive that he delved into with it. Ethical fading is a condition that allows people to act in ways that will only benefit them at the expense of others while believing that they haven't compromised on their own moral principles. This chapter explains how companies have let ethical fading poison their operations, and around this point in the book, I found that much of it focuses on the differences between what keeps so many companies going and what keeps so many companies from continuing. A little bit random, but this one part stood out in the chapter The Courage to Lead. This part was discussing the economic risks of smoking cigarettes. It really stood out because of how many statistics he compared it to. It sounds like something very astonishing that you'd hear in a Scott Galloway book or something. According to the CDC, smoking is the leading preventable cause of death in the US. The number of people who die from smoking-related illness every year is more than all the people who die from HIV, illegal drug use, alcohol use, car accidents, and firearm-related incidents combined. Cigarettes kill 480,000 people every single year. That's 80,000 more people than the total number of American servicemen who died in all of World War II. All of those illnesses cost American taxpayers more than $300 billion each year. The entire cost of NASA's space shuttle program, which includes building 6 space shuttles, 5 of which flew to space, cost taxpayers $106 billion over the course of 30 years. The annual healthcare total related to smoking costs the country nearly 50 times more than traveling to space. Terms like ethical fading and existential flex, I think were cooler than they sounded, but other than that, very well done, Simon Sinek, very well done. Quotes. We do not think in quarters, we think in generations. Too many leaders see people as a cost. Money can't buy true will. Our lives are finite, but life is infinite. Direction 1. The author wrote this book for people who are ready to challenge the status quo of
let's make as much money as possible
and replace it with one that's more conducive to our deeply rooted need for safety and contribution to something that's bigger than ourselves. If that describes you, I would recommend checking this book out. Direction 2, if you like this book, I'd also recommend checking out Start With Why by the same author. The Infinite Game by Simon Sinek. There's a link in the description if you guys want to check it out and read the reviews. That and all the other books that I mentioned in this video if you want to check those out too. If you guys buy anything through the links in the description, then I get commission, which helps me build this channel and keep making these videos. If there are any other books that you guys want me to check out and review, please let me know in the comments below. Also, let me know if you checked out this book and you liked it. But hey, make sure to smash that like button, subscribe if you haven't already, because I don't get why people watch this far in my videos and they don't subscribe, but if you have subscribed and you want to turn it up just a notch and turn on that notification bell to get a notification whenever I drop new videos, that would mean the world to me. Thank you guys so much for watching. I really appreciate it. You can find me everywhere and I will see you then.